Among the sea of many creators, you often kind of find ones that are either very much you're hooked onto their content, their style, their sense of humor, games they play, or maybe just the opinions that they have on like very relevant topics. Often this can actually be a kind of a good thing because they at least value their opinion in some way, but opinions also means that you must be part of a certain cabal that lives underground, and actually you're pretty much evil in all sense of the word. But one guy that kind of ends up dominating the entire sphere when it comes to kind of like opinions that most people would kind of end up respecting in some way would be the one and only and the iconic Cr1TiKal. Most would find his style of content when he was growing to be pretty humorous. To do his monotone voice that he was just kind of born with, the certain way he speaks when making just similes on anything in his head, and his level-headedness when it just came to opinions and how he was able to explain them, not only was honestly at least humorous, at least to me, but it just kind of felt normal. I never had the feeling in the sense that he was kind of just being very malicious or that he was being some like evil doer behind the scenes when he was every time making a YouTube video. And it seemed that most people never really had much of an issue to bring out with Charlie. And his popularity only boosted even more further when the whole world was basically stuck in like lockdown, and there was a whole thing. You might have heard of it. It's called COVID-19. He very much did not have the dream that most people would kind of end up wanting when kind of becoming a creator and just being able to be as successful at a point where you could just make things that you've always wanted to do and just have them become a reality. The dude has like 2 comic books that I have yet to even read. He has an entire esports team that may not be doing financially well, but they're doing it for the goddamn love of the sport, and even has a company called Human Media Group, which I also don't know if that's also been doing well, but the entire company is meant to help other creators that YouTube just could not do. It just looks like that he was actually kind of doing very good things out of the sake of his own kindness, like just of how lucky he was to be in this position. But as of today, Charlie, he's still doing himself. He's still growing, he's still making strides in the internet, but the thing that made him popular to such an insane level of degree was his commentary videos. If you ever needed a reminder, like a certain drama that ended up happening, maybe a company that ended up one day like shot in the foot, or maybe like just some like classic internet weirdo that you may have remembered once, probably a chance or not, you've heard it from Critical. And that's not just probability, it's basically now just scientific fact. People got drawn to his commentary just for the simple reason that it was easy enough to digest and just easy for anybody to like kind of learn of something. It wasn't there to make you believe in something that wasn't exactly there or be over exaggeratory. He was a dude that with some level-headed thinking, common sense, and knows how to make a good joke along with some honesty, you basically just get your critical video of the day. So what's the big issue? Seeing people today actually kind of like him and they actually kind of value his opinion. People need to know about the crazy and insane situation that people are, it's happening. Okay, let's address this. See, if you were kind of familiar with the YouTube titles of The Situation is Insane, and you'll probably be a lot more sick by it, that could be traced all the way back to Charlie. Where Pyro was kind of the inventor of the word slop, Charlie was the one who did these titles, not intentionally I might add, because I don't think he kind of just realized how popular it became to such a point. And of course, YouTubers being YouTubers, they kind of like to copy all of it just to see exactly how successful it can be, because if it worked for Charlie here, then why not I add The Situation is Crazy? And since the title of it is just essentially just vague enough already, because it doesn't exactly make you side with one thing or the other, it was basically perfect. You get the free revenue, you get everything you all use wanted, and you don't even get to pick a side instead of a drama and all that. So hey, that's the best of both worlds. And again, I don't think this was Charlie doing any of these things like on purpose to be, malicious or like, end up ruining YouTube. This isn't like Leafy with his comments. It just became the meta that people just wanted to do. It's kind of why I also try to avoid most of these titles, kind of using all of it, because I mean, I could honestly do it, but also there's just too many, man. At a certain point, I gotta change it up. I had to look up another thesaurus for one of these. Speaking of words, Charlie's kind of often described as kind of almost being of a fence-sitter when discussing most internet drama. He only picks the popular side. He doesn't have a single original bone in his body to make him stand out. He bumps at the same type of video all the time, and he didn't deserve the growth and just makes low effort content. I've watched Charlie when he was kind of like on lockdown, at least back in like 2020, I believe, or at least around 2021. But I became a fan of his commentary videos because I kind of found the style of him doing all this stuff is really humorous. I thought he was actually very level-headed with most of the stuff, and it was just an alright guy, and I just found him to be really good, and I just kept watching one video after the next. Plus, he also kind of served an excuse as to me kind of just looking up on things on the internet and just seeing exactly what's been going on, because he'll just talk about it one day and that would be that. And to an extent, he was almost kind of the reason as to why I actually wanted to do commentary in the first place, because it just seemed like something that like anybody can do, and I wanted to give a shot at it. Despite me saying of how that I did watch a lot of Charlie, at least in some time, I do understand exactly where most people are coming from when they do have an issue with him. Like, let's be honest, his opinions, they're not that, nuclear. He ain't exactly dropping a truth bomb on you. Most of them you could just end up kind of figuring out for yourself most of the time. And his weird story videos that he kind of finds, they're pretty funny. I'll admit, a lot of them are actually pretty good. I am honestly jealous when he ends up finding them, because I need better sources. But a lot of them are stuff that, like, at least in my opinion, don't exactly need a whole lot of, like, talking about usually. So that could just be me. He also had like this thing of like YouTube late night reaction stuff, and it was kind of like a fun. It was kind of meant to just like laugh at silly things, kind of like a whole bunch of friends and doing all that. Kind of like meant to emulate that a little bit. He also doesn't exactly do the most like high level of editing. Like he's not exactly out here doing like Max Sword style of edits, but he's the only guy and probably the only person ever in the world out there that still uses Sony Vegas, which to be fair, any software would have probably done it for him. Like he could have just made his videos all in like Windows Movie Maker and it would still have been acceptable and fine. So who am I to judge? Many have made fun of Charlie for at least the way that he kind of does his content, and they kind of done it both in a positive light and in a negative light. An example of people making fun of his content in the kind of most respectable manner was kind of that whole thing that ended up happening with like the Moistverse, where people all over the globe or everywhere around there decided to kind of just mimic and become kind of like a Charlie clone, because if you kind of almost look a bit similar to him in some way, you'll end up just, it'll all work out for you. Like, it did not matter. You could be a car, you could be a woman, you could be black, Asian, a being that only exists in like the fifth dimension. You were able to do this trend, you were able to get away with it, and people would just end up finding it very funny, and they all laughed. And on the other side of the coin, you gotta have people kind of just mocking the content of what he kind of does. Like, they always kind of just do the typical of just, hey, what's up guys, the big pee-pee poo-poo chunkus fart situation is pretty crazy, and that's about it. So yeah, because most people kind of just are not a big fan of him. They kind of see it as kind of like just him not exactly deserving much of it, because he puts so little effort where most people would have to put a lot more time to do so. And I do kind of get that, though I think a lot of it is just more like jealousy most part than anything else. I don't think it's kind of a wrong thing to say that there are sometimes at least genuine critiques that do come from an honest thing, and I think a lot of those kind of end up getting buried because it's just like how widely hated because of it. This would kind of head to a few cases. The first of is his disagreement that he had with Dark River Review. I actually kind of made an entire video about that of the reaction content, so you can very much check that video out. It was very much an old one. But the premise of it was that Dark Viper, a GTA YouTuber, he very much had a problem with like a lot of big popular Twitch streamers at the time that were basically doing reaction content and saying that a lot of it was not exactly, it wasn't transformative, you were being lazy with it, and that you don't deserve to have any of these because you were just living off success of other people. And one of those people on Twitch that he called out was Charlie. They kind of butted heads for a little bit for a while, and it was basically a whole drama that, again, look back at my video, you'll very much kind of understand why. But a lot of it ended up getting ahead, and he very much had to end his YouTube night streams where he would basically just react to just random videos, and most of those videos would end up kind of starting a lot of the careers of other people, kind of like Tuv and Gunner TV, at least the two examples that come off the top of my head. But he would end up stopping them and kind of realized how dangerous he was. And it wasn't just a thing that like he was doing it just because of like, oh, it was just easy views for me. He just wanted to do it for the sake of fun. Which really, that's kind of what it all boiled down to with him. He wasn't really trying to harm anybody unless on that point. Then, Charlie and Dark Viper, they got together, they made up, and now they're good. They're all fine. Then he had another moment with the iDubbbz apology where he would kind of end up saying this.
I think I should have the balls to make an apology video and take accountability for the mistakes I've made. So that's what this video is. I am responsible for creating a lot of hurtful and damaging content on this channel. And I've also created a culture of apathy and, I don't know, a lot of like cruelty as well. Like, you know, some of the videos I've made have been very not edgy. I don't think they you know, some of these videos were edgy. I think they were just outright cruel.
It sucks to hear that this is how he thinks about his old content and his old self. It's always a very difficult realization when you look back on, you know, the you of a few years ago disappointed. He wasn't happy with the content he made or the person he was, and now he's trying to apologize for the videos he made. And I, once again, have to completely disagree with the way he looks at it. I feel like his perspective on it is very warped by the way the internet has evolved over the years. The way he talks about this content makes it sound like he used to fucking murder puppies for these videos, which it was never that extreme. I very much would consider it edgy. It was 2016 edginess in all of its glory. That was entirely the brand. And for its time, it lived peacefully. You know, all four nations, water, earth, fire, air, lived together in harmony with all this edginess going on. Now, obviously, times have changed, then he has changed. He's gotten older. He's in his 30s now. In your 30s, it's not exactly entertaining to just be spamming slurs for shock humor. I don't find that entertaining, and he doesn't either. So it's totally fine to want to distance yourself from making content like that. But I don't think it was a mistake that he made those videos. Like, they're not hurtful, nor do I really think they're damaging. Now, you could make an argument that they were hurtful to the people they were about, like the content cop on Tana or Leafy or any of that. You could say, like, you know, he hurt their feelings or sent harassment their way, which may have been a mental burden on them, and you could feel bad about that, I suppose. But at the end of the day, I don't think the goal of his content was ever to be hurtful or damaging. He was just trying to entertain and using edginess as shock humor, which for its time was acceptable online. Now, whether or not you think that's okay that it was ever acceptable, that's a different argument for a different day. But the point is, the point of his content wasn't to be hateful or hurtful. He really was just trying to entertain. At least that's how I and the majority of people viewed it. So I just don't think that the apology is really warranted.
But the internet wasn't exactly happy with Charlie saying that, because they kind of didn't think that him, you know, very much saying that the apology was not exactly warranted, thought that, like, oh, so he's fine because, like, like these slurs and all these other things that Ian said back in the day were actually fine, because if you have a little kid who ends up stumbling upon that content and they start repeating that stuff in like school, or have like a way of just saying like, oh yeah, there's an excuse for me to say it because he said it, then I guess there is a problem. But then again, that's a whole debate that I don't want to try and get into. Really, that's not what I want to do. Because keep in mind, Ian's channel was very popular back in 2016. I remember him when he was kind of just a meme. I actually didn't even know about like the whole stuff like Kickstarter crap or like the content cop. And yes, in 2016, your favorite YouTuber probably have said, you know, some slurs, but it's fine. They've been rehabilitated, and they're good now. But Charlie went in and make a response towards Serge to make it clear with everybody exactly what he actually clarifies and what he very much meant. I do guess why Charlie, in his own perspective, would kind of think that, but I don't think Charlie was ever trying to put it into his opinion that it was the correct one. It was the only one that should have mattered in that case. Or that the slurs should just come back and anybody else out there could say it. He just never considered of how large of an impact iDubbbz' like influence would be. And plus, he was kind of in that era where he was kind of old enough to kind of move past that. So it really wasn't anything new to him. So to him, it never had much of an effect. And I think that's a fine thing to at least say, because I didn't exactly think, you know, he was saying anything wrong in the first hand. And then when he made his second video, I also kind of exactly knew where he was coming from. I don't think anybody was trying to think like that his opinion is the one thing to rule them all. But his next event happened with another influencer, that being Sneeko. Sneeko will be the first one to very much go and attack on Charlie, very much having to go on the stream to wave a gun around, very much saying that, like, you know, you should watch my clips. And Charlie would end up dropping a absolute bomb of a commentary video on Sneeko, very much showing the whole world exactly who he is. Not only that Charlie ended up bringing out the fact that he at one point decided to be a cuck for a little bit and allowed his girlfriend to be banged by other dudes.
The girl you love, like,
Get fucked.
get fucked.
You love her?
Yeah, I do. I love it. Yeah, I love her. I was about to say I love this bitch. I'm like, nah, let me not say that. I love my
Queen.
wifey, my queen.
And
answer,
you
good answer.
allowed the love of your life to get fucked by another man.
What happened to the other three?
Is
men?
there,
Why
is there,
did that one last?
I'm crazy.
The first time, as soon as I saw it, like 3 pumps in, I just got up and walked out. I'm just like, I can't do that. Like, feeling traumatic thoughts, like seeing her with another person. It's a lot. But I think it's something everybody should do just to test. I know. You know what?
That his favorite film that he watched was Cuties, a film about little children being exploited by the big film industry and literally twerking on the camera, and how much of a coward he was when he ended up ducking fights the moment someone decides to confront him and call his bluff. It was just a masterpiece of an actual takedown that I often just end up seeing the reactions from everybody, and everybody very much was like freaking out when he saw him pull up a huger gun than anything, okay? You don't mess around with a man from Florida for no goddamn reason. It was safe to say the internet has time with Nico, and very much the two will end up trying to put a resolution on this and very much kind of talk it out to kind of see where each perspective was kind of coming from, and it seemed like it was going to be fine for like a while, and it seemed like it was just a better resolution for the conflict. And that would be until round 2 happened. A good portion of the time had passed, and Sneaker decided to test his debating skills on the moist man again, and Charlie ate dog shit on this one. There's this video that goes over the debate from Patrick CC, and you can very much watch that if you want like the full kind of scope of what the beef kind of was. But the thing you need to know that got Charlie in the hot seat was this question that Sneeko ended up offering him.
So Sneeko pivoted to a different question regarding minors.
You could take hormone blockers, you could take puberty blockers, okay, when you're a child. When you're 16, you can go change your gender, but you can't get married? Why is that?
I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty obvious question.
No, it's not. It's not. See, if you cut your penis off, like Crystal Mr. Beast, if you cut your penis off, that is a life-altering decision. You can't glue it back on. You can get divorced if you get married. This is a commitment that you're taking. A child, based off the liberal point of view that you believe in, they can have gender surgery. They can change forever. Do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay, so as long as everyone...
If your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make, yeah.
Okay.
Sneeko laughs and even Charlie laughs because they both realize that Charlie is using the exact same line of thinking that Sneeko used to justify the age of consent.
Okay, so a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
Oh, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family, because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
So no. But it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding. Because there's take the other party out of the equation. It's a personal decision. If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl, she's beautiful, she's 21 years old, her family wants to do it, my family wants to do it. You're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting. I'm ready to go. I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that woman's a pedophile. But if then the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe everyone has I believe everyone has the right to do with their body what they want to do.
Okay, 100%. So everyone has the right to do with their body, but not when it comes to a sacred marriage where they have kids, where they add to society.
That's no longer just you. They can't possibly wrap their head around this adult that has been preying on them. Like, I don't know why you can't see that. A 16-year-old can't be making this decision on this adult who is convincing them that I am the right choice for you for life.
Right. But a 9-year-old boy can go into a clinic and decide that doctor, that 40-year-old doctor, can cut my penis off?
If that's a decision he and his family wants to make, that doesn't bother me. Absolutely does not.
Okay.
Hey, maybe a 24-year-old watched your streams like, oh, you know what? This 15-year-old's pretty mature. I'm going to go ahead and start trying to talk to them. Do you think that's cool?
No, that's not cool. You're supposed to talk to the father before you get married. If her father's not okay with it,
that's
then what
the
happens?
issue you had with that?
scenario.
Yeah, but when you approach marriage, you don't just go approach a girl and that's not what Islamically is allowed. You're supposed to go to the father and supposed to see where it goes from there. So that's never what I said.
24-year-old talks to the father of a 15-year-old and gets his permission. Now it's cool.
Get to the father and say like, am I interested in marrying your physically matured, your adult daughter? Okay. Is she okay with it?
15-year-old.
Ask the mother.
15-year-old daughter.
Get the consensus. Yes, and if he's okay with it, she's okay with it. I think that's fine. That's fine. If I told you when you were a kid that it was okay legally and morally to cut your dick off, would you agree?
Like what do you mean? Would I do it, or would I say that that's okay?
Would you say that that's okay?
I'd have no idea on how to even process something like that. I'm a fucking child.
After the whole debate, Charlie would end up making a video responding to the whole ordeal, and color be surprised, Sneeko decided to not tell Charlie anything about that it was to be streaming on Rumble live without his innate awareness to the whole thing. But even if Charlie was very much just bad at debating, because let's be honest, I saw it from a mile away. You didn't need to tell me that he was going to be bad at this whole thing. Sneeko still ended up taking the L on this one when he had to go on to debate about the age of consent. If you're at that point where you have to debate about the age of consent, something's going to be wrong with you. Something that is just completely wrong with you. That should have been the period. That should have been the end of the book. And this would be the point where after the whole dust settled with Sneeko and Charlie round 2, and the summer of 2024, where all the drama and everything else just went on full, like, just rapture, Charlie had decided to just wave the white flag and say that he was just gonna take some time away from doing actual commentary and doing the drama stuff. Or at least more specifically, talking about, like, online personalities that get themselves into drama, at least as he said in this video.
When I initially started covering drama so many years ago now, it was fun because it wasn't as serious. Like, the stories were a lot, more quirky. It was easy to get invested because it was kind of just like a soap opera, like a really dumb soap opera. But recently it's been much more serious, and I feel the need to talk about these things because a lot of them are extremely serious with very important topics to discuss. But it has become draining. As much as I never wanted to admit it, I've started to recognize that my mood is immediately impacted by whatever I read on Twitter in the morning. If that's some horrible stuff about a creator or what have you, it immediately affects my entire day and my whole outlook on the day.
I think in like the most realistic sense, he just wanted to be more disconnected from the internet much more than he kind of at least needed to. I know I am a commentary channel, but I'm not very much going to say that like I'm high above of like doing drama stuff or that I wouldn't cover it. I just rather pick the ones that like have the most intrigue to me, or at least make something that like I would rather be interested in making. There can be a point where if you keep constantly surrounding yourself with nothing but like negativity almost every day to a constant daily basis 24/7 with like no other interests, no other hobbies, and not willing just to go outside and actually be in the real world, it's gonna suck. When Charlie's admitting any of these, I don't see him as like being backed down because he couldn't stand on shit. I just see it as him just wanting to just remove himself from something that he no longer enjoyed, because to him online drama was basically just a soap opera to him. This has led to the reasons to why the video was made, and I get that most people don't like Charlie, and that's fine if you don't like him. It's literally fine. It's not a hot take to not like somebody, but this goes from a point from not liking somebody in the most like respectable and fair and valid way to very much seeing him as kind of like a soulless, like heartless dude that does not care about anybody else. Like that impression just rubs me off the wrong way so much that I just don't know how people can just get to that point unless you have to be completely and utterly hatred of every other YouTuber and believe that they're all garbage. Yet even despite the fact that I was inspired at least a little bit in by Charlie, as of right now I don't find most of his recent stuff and his recent content to be that much more enjoyable now. It's natural just to outgrow most of your own idols, and you're not going to keep the same ones forever. You're bound to end up having new tastes, and just to very much expand as to what things you actually want to pursue by that point. To me, Charlie was somebody that brought common sense and a level head towards anything that he was very much just talking about, no matter how silly it was. He was somebody that you can very much just easily watch, and there was almost no barrier to entry that you didn't actually exactly need to know. If your takeaway from this video was that he is a low effort creator or that he's a one-of-a-kind gem, either one may be right, but neither are going to be fully the real answer. I have a lot of respect when it comes to Charlie, not only as a YouTuber, but as a genuine human being. If I were to meet him, I like to think that we get along pretty easily. Like, I think he's a good guy to at least get along really well with. This isn't meant to be a whole glaze or defend of Charlie, and this isn't even meant to be like a hate video for Charlie. It's meant to be this kind of like series of events that has been on sides that are valid on what they're saying, and kind of want to just kind of ramble and see exactly where both sides are kind of coming from somebody that has been watching his content. This idea kind of came into my head one day, and I decided that it would kind of be an interesting video idea to kind of just go on and ramble on about. And yeah, that's about the video. See ya.